you guys start saying, oh, it's just like Joe Biden. I say anyway a lot. Okay? I say anyway a lot. Anyway. 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 Here's a 3-minute ad right now. Anyway. 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 Anyways. Anyway. 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 Everybody, love you all. What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, afternoon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm a Piker in this house, and I'm broadcast coming to you live from so many years sunny California, Los Angeles, folks. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. Today's a wonderful day. Today is Thursday. It's Thirsty Thursday, folks. It's Thursday, October 30th, 2025. And we are live. We're alive, and we got a lot going on. I'm going to end it all of No Spooky Gaming. Okay. The gaming frogs have reached critical mass. It seems they're so fucking annoying. If I don't actually soothe their interest, they're just gonna become the most annoying people in this community. I mean, I haven't even started yet. I don't have anything to watch for the time being, and I can't get myself to like pay attention to anything. It's not great. It's not great at all. But in any case, yeah, I'm in a show hole. Like, not showing my hole, but as far as shows, I don't have anything that I can point to. But regardless, woke up early this morning. Woke up early this morning to go and do a podcast. For all of those who think I don't partake in reasonable debate and discussion with opposition forces, they are wrong. I went on the Trigonometry podcast. British. I know. They're British. So automatically I oppose them. Speaking of British podcasts, I believe I'm going to be on another British podcast soon. But yeah, it was an interesting conversation, a robust discussion, lots of back and forth, but I think I presented my worldview to the best of my ability. Yeah, Zach's pod is going to come out. Zach's pod is going to come out. What the fuck? Aren't they right leaning? Yeah, I did. I do right leaning podcasts as well. What do you mean? Yeah, this is the pod I went on. But you know, you already know what it is, baby. You know what it is. Yeah, right-wing arc? No, man. What? I didn't go on there to agree with them. The fuck? Y'all are so dumb. Okay. That's John Oliver's Wario. Yeah. I did that this morning. That's why I'm late. But there's not really much else going on in my life, so I'm just gonna blast off real quick. Short and sweet 14-minute intro. Normally it takes up 30 minutes of my time, but not much going on in my life, so let's just get it popping. Let's see if this this GIF works. But yeah, we got Trump and Xi kissing. KISSING on a tree. Okay. Pentagon to test nukes. JD Vance grilled at TPUSA event. Snap cuts incoming. Snap cuts imminent as AI rage bait increases. Arthur genocide of Sudan. Book Talk discovers. Book Talk discovers One Piece and more. Oh, I got to do the Streamer Award nominations as well. Yes. Spooky gaming later. There it is. Have you covered Cat and others being indicted federally? Yes, I have. I have. Can you talk about how RFK is now saying he doesn't have enough proof that Motrin is linked to autism? What? No, I didn't know that he said that. Here it is, blasting off, ladies and gentlemen, blasting off. If this gets to 1,000 likes, I will engage in gaming later. If it doesn't, then no gaming for you. I'm kidding. But yeah. Motrin. You should play Chronos A New Dawn. No. Hi, Hasanabi. Hi, Kaya. I'm glad you are late. Me too. Are you taking Kaya with you to China? That is a long time. No. I will not be taking Kaya with me to China, which is a 15-hour direct flight. And I assume like clearing customs with like all of the necessary paperwork / quarantine requirements would take far longer than the amount of time I'm going to be spending on Chinese soil. So I like that when I say I might be spooky gaming later, this means for people that I will be playing their favorite game. Fuck you, bro. Damn, dude. That's so early. Why so hateful so early? Why so hateful so soon? What is this, Hassan? Have you seen this indictment of your lack of gaming? Valkyrie's reaction to being called the female Hassan.
I heard you're the female Hassan.
I'm a gamer. Just secret, okay?
Damn.
I'm a secret gamer. Y'all are silly.
Is that what you heard? And I cannot change the way you perceive me. And I accept that. Although it hurts.
Yeah. 100 Thieves Hasanabi. That's real. I know you didn't trick or treat in Turkey, but what costume would you have dressed up as, or would your mom have made you wear as a kid? I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know. Have you covered Zach Polanski yet? What? Wait, why? Why do you want me to cover Zach Polanski? I will be. Zach is releasing the podcast that me and him did. Zach Polanski is the leader of the Greens in the UK. Okay? The UK. With the Greens. Possible Hasanabi heads exposing Cuomo. Oh, I saw this TikTok. Museum, which is an early voting site. This is pretty funny.
And I saw my new friend here holding up the Cuomo things. And we just kind of looked at each other. And I said, are you getting paid to be out here? Yes. Yes, $33 an hour to hand out the Cuomo flyers. And I said, feel free to just throw those in the trash. But, you know, you got to get paid. Zeron has people doing this for free outside all the polling sites. So, yeah, dude.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So if you feel like doing stuff for free, anytime this weekend or this week, honestly. But, you know, to balance it out.
Hassan is a March's Instagram story. Oh, I am a gamer, just offline. Yeah, I'm a gamer, not online, but offline. It's true. I game quite a bit. Just because you don't get to see it doesn't mean that that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? Never go inside the mind of a median voter. Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, go vote
Hold
for
on, let's finish
Zeron
this.
on line D. And right up the street, my other friend Gary.
Hey, how are you?
Great. Also getting paid to be out here.
Yeah, my birthday is tomorrow.
Happy birthday
I'll be
tomorrow.
59 years old.
Happy
and so
birthday.
the $210 that I'm making a day, I
Totally.
can use that for a pair of jeans and shirt, go
Yeah.
somewhere and eat.
Absolutely. He did say he would not be out here if he wasn't getting paid. And I said, I'm going to go vote for Zeron. I already did it. Also, just hand the flyers to me and I'll go burn them if you want. But, you know.
I would love to, but then that's going to stunt my pay.
Totally. They probably wouldn't like that. Anyway, great to meet you, Gary.
Yeah. Yep. It is what it is. Sometimes you just got to get, what is this? Oh, I saw this. This is such a creepy photo. Hey, boss, we finished uploading these pictures from the women's event. Real ominous and rapey like you asked. I love this photo. Look at how fucking creepy he looks, dude. He looks terrifying. Unironically, you should stop gaming. Strange as fuck to be 45 and still playing video games like a child. Yeah. First of all, you're wrong. You're wrong on every account. I think 45-year-olds should still be able to play video games. Okay. It's ridiculous. I think there is no age where it's like saying, oh my God, I can't believe you're 50 years old and you're still watching the moving pictures. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's so dumb. I can't believe someone would be 50 years old and watch cinema. Can't believe you're 70 and you still listen to music. It's like, it's a form of entertainment, weirdo. Yeah. So strange. This Kamala interview looks so
I'm
annoying.
going to just be honest. There were times where Joe Biden.
Oh my God, she went on the business podcast or whatever this is called. That's so funny. The White House doesn't want you to know this. Oh God, this interview is probably unfucking bearable. Oh God, it is probably unbearable. Also, low motion again. These guys have no motion whatsoever. The Diary of a CEO, don't they have bangers? Like, most of their fucking clips go crazy, right? Like, look at this, 1.3 million, 1.6 million. I mean, I guess 200K in 10 hours, not so bad, but like, God damn, dude, this is a person who ran for presidente and she ain't getting any pull. Those spiritual dudes on the street be getting aggressive. Oh, Black Israelites. Drewski tackling this issue. Hey, Hassan, just letting you know, but we don't use the 61 meme anymore. I know you were informed the other day that the 67 meme is outdated and that we moved on to 41 and 61, but 61 is now kind of ass. So please don't use the 61 meme anymore, nor the 67, 41 meme. Just letting you know as a longtime chatter. First of all, no one informed me. I informed them. Okay. I've known about the 6-7 meme that has been around for like a year now. And only did it hit the normie sphere. And like boomers and shit in the past couple of months. And that's the reason why people annoyingly constantly spam it in the chat. Okay. And there's still people that don't know what it is because they're boomers. Yes, 6-7's been around for a fucking year, dude. Yes. Zoomers and Gen Alpha was spamming 6-7 for a goddamn year before boomers found out about it on TikTok. Isn't that crazy? It actually opened my mind. It opened my mind to how I am old. Like this, because or how my part of the world is old in general. Just because I was aware of it doesn't mean that like you guys were. You guys weren't aware of it at all. Now you're spamming it nonstop. Blood, you're old as dust. I know, but I still keep my ear to the ground. I'm an old man, so my ears don't hear as well as they used to. But yeah. I didn't know memes when I was in high school either, though. I feel like it's a personality thing. Yeah, 6'7" was around for a year. Isn't that crazy? It was literally around for one whole year until people started realizing that it was a meme that Zoomers were spamming, like maybe 2-3 months ago. And now it's reached like the weatherman, you know, at your local television station. So that's how you know it's done. And that's the reason why people keep spamming in this chat, because y'all are old as fuck. You're washed. You got tinnitus? It's true. Yeah, it reached a coworker sphere for sure. Hassan, would you come back as a zombie? What? Come back as a zombie? What does that have to do with... Oh, what does this photo have to do with it? Erica Kirk with JD Vance tonight at Ole Miss. The song is only about 8 months old. It's not a year. Okay, it's almost a fucking year. It feels like it's been a year. Are you Clark Kent tomorrow for Halloween? We're working on it. We're working on it. All right, so where were we? Okay, yeah, this is what's so crazy about it, but like the AI rage bait is out of control. We'll obviously cover that. We'll talk about Kamala Harris on this podcast. We'll talk about Nick Fuentes on Tucker Carlson and them burying the hatchet, what that means for the future of the Republican Party and the future of anti-Semitism in the United States of America. Having said that, it's crazy. You remember what it was like before phones were invented? Chat can learn a ton from an elder statesman like you. I know. It's fucking true. It's true. I am an elderly. I was there when history was unfolding. Okay, remember that and respect it. Where's Timasius's playlist? Does anyone have it? Does anyone have the link? Someone send me the link. A new Cuomo ad just dropped.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. Right here on New York State Capitol Hill.
Oh my God. Am I crazy? I feel like using AI art and shit is just using AI is so ass. Yeah, I know there's a good Emerson poll that came out. Very exciting stuff. We'll talk about that as well. It's just, God, he's so ass, bro. Your uncle went off on Stephen Miller's wife on Pierce. I saw this. This was fire. Wait, I want the full one. I want the full segment. Jank cooked her. Absolutely cooked her. And she had no response. She has no response. Jank, Uncle Chunk Weigert absolutely toasted her ass. And she just kept going, oh, this is anti-Semitism. This is anti-Semitism. That's it. That's all. She had one move. Which is so funny because, like, you came about in the most, like, anti-woke wave. Okay, you came into power with the most like anti-woke wave of all time. And instead of abiding by that principle of anti-woke, now we've gotten to a point where in the United States of America, the only woke thing that is permissible. No more identity politics unless you are cynically talking about Jews and anti-Semitism in defense of Israel. That's it. That's the only time we're supposed to act like we give a shit about identity politics. You can say whatever the fuck you want about everybody. You can say whatever the fuck you want about even Jews, as long as they're anti-Zionist Jews, right? But God forbid you say anything about the holy nation of Israel, the best nation of all time, the most moral nation. That's the only time where you're like, you need to be silenced immediately. Is Katie Miller even Jewish? I don't know. I mean, I know Steven is. I don't know if she is. Not that it fucking matters, because Jake's not saying anything anti-Semitic. Oh, dictionary.com picks 6-7 as the 2025 word of the year. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we freaking go. Anyway, look. This is the where's the jank on Piers? Let's do this.
Are no longer at the gate.
He cooked Randy Fine too, I guess. I mean, he went crazy.
What does that have to do with anything regarding his policies and how he will run New York City? So that should be called out from the get. It's wrong. Nobody should do it. Simultaneously, yes, a lot of the things you said are alarming to me. I do wish, like, dude, just come out and condemn Hamas. It's not that hard. It's very common sense, in my opinion. What's alarming to me about Mamdani are his policies. And if we're going to talk about that, I feel like I can pontificate on it. But with regard to him being Muslim, I go back to, again, who cares? And people should stop calling that out. It's wrong.
But I guess it's relevant if he is saying that Islamophobia is endemic in the United States. I mean, do you believe that it is endemic in the United States? A hatred of people for their Muslim faith?
I don't think it's endemic in the United States, but it does exist. Racism exists. Sexism exists. I don't think it's endemic. And I think that kind of fear-mongering, rage-baiting is literally tearing us apart, which is why I want to see it stop when it comes to his religion as well. So, listen, he said a lot of things that I don't like. This is America. He's allowed to say those things. Again, I go back to what I wish people would attack him on specifically are his policies, because that's where I believe he has exceptional vulnerability. Like, if you don't like the things...
Yeah, that's right. What you should do instead is constantly talk about how, no, better things are not possible, and everyone is a stupid child for thinking that you could get fast and free buses. How dare you? That is definitely going to be a successful method. No, the reality of the matter is, if you actually present a decent, easily definable 5-bullet point left populist policy program, it's virtually impossible to fucking destroy that. And that's precisely the reason why everyone is trying to hit the whole Zohran Mamdani is a Muslim man, Mohammedan threat who will do 9/11s over and over again if elected. That's the only reason why they're doing that, because they don't have anything else, because it is a self-sustaining campaign. Otherwise, you only look like an annoying person who says better things are not possible if you are constantly complaining that the working poor deserve less.
That he's saying about Gaza or Hamas or the Jews, don't double down by saying those things about him being Muslim. That's my opinion.
He's never said anything about the Jews. We should just be clear about the fact that he's never said anything about the Jews.
That's true. He is not.
It's just a phrase that gets imposed on him because people can't find anything to condemn. Yeah, but that's not saying anything about the Jews. Whatever his views are on Hamas, that's a completely different conversation. We should just use words carefully and to be like, if we're going to have a constructive discourse, it's important not to put words in other people's mouths. So anytime you hear Mamdani and you hear the phrase, the Jews followed by it, that's typically a smear because Mamdani has never expressed any views that are anti-Semitic. If his political views about Israel and Palestine are problematic, let's debate the merits of those without suggesting that he's saying something about the Jews when he never did.
Oh, okay. What
I think
about
that's
this
fair
one,
enough,
though?
Omar.
He has a rap song.
Okay.
I was going to say he has a rap song where he celebrates the Holy Land Five, who have gone to jail for sending millions of dollars to Hamas. How do you think that would make a Jewish person feel?
What is this? Like, why does everybody who defend Israel sound the same? There's always this like incredibly whiny tone that people who like, oh, why won't you let me say you are a Mohammedan? It's always like that. It always feels the same way. Like the Israeli SNL, it transcends national boundaries. It's so fucking crazy. Like it's like, I'm not talking about the accents, right? I'm talking about like this performative outrage that everyone who defends Israel has to engage in. And you'll see it like fucking Katie Miller says, it takes the exact same tone of voice.
Probably not great.
Not great, Jillian.
I'd never heard of that song.
Israel slaughters. Hold on.
Okay, I mean, it exists.
Our children over and over and over again, and all we do is and Piers, this is really important. It's not that the American people are Islamophobic. It's that American media, mainstream media, and almost all the Israeli supporters are the most bigoted, racist people in the country.
True.
They despise Muslims. All they do is smear Muslims 24/7 while pretending that they're concerned about bigotry, but only when it affects their beloved Israel. So they're like, oh my God, I'm so concerned about anti-Semitism. Oh, you said something slightly true, actually very true about Israel, but it hurt my feelings. You're an anti-Semite, fire him, cancel him, etc. This is all thuggery. There's a bunch of
he's cooking. He's cooking. It's so awesome. He's cooking. Uncle Chunk. It's so crazy because they have different opinions on a bunch of issues that I disagree with, like at the Young Turks. But both him and Anna have so consistently duked it out in media in the most uncompromising manner when it comes to defending Palestinians. Like, even if they will also concede at times about like the resistance front, and they lean into that kind of narrative a little bit too much to my liking, they always are just like, no.
Israeli forces inside America, they've taken over our Congress, they've taken over mainstream media, and not only do they try to smear, cancel, fire, and arrest anyone who criticizes Israel,
True.
But on top of that, they now demand that you be racist and bigoted against Muslims. And it's so hilarious.
You want to be specific with your words?
Because Mamdani, hold on, let me finish. So let me finish. So now they go, okay, even though Mamdani has never said anything anti-Semitic, nothing against Jews, and even though the majority of Jews, according to polling, are supporting Mamdani, 67% of younger Jewish Americans in New York that's under 45 are supporting Mamdani, we're going to lie anyway, and we're going to say, you know what, he's a dirty Muslim, and you should hate him for supporting Muslims. And that's what almost all of the Israeli supporters are doing, almost all of mainstream media, and that sick, disgusting Andrew Cuomo, who's as bigoted as it gets.
Woo! Smoked them. Oh, and then Piers is like, what an optimal time to come in here and hawk some pills.
All right,
now
Katie.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Huh.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he wants to make
Jews.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. It's like it's like I'm. This is like a gaslighting, like defending Palestinians means that you are going to encounter Zionists out in the wild, okay? And talking to Israel defenders on any issue is always like arguing with a schizophrenic girlfriend that has bipolar borderline personality disorder, where like, not only, no disrespect to the BPD girlies, okay? I love you all. But it just kind of feels like is gaslight, or boyfriend, for the record. BPD boyfriend, not just girlfriend. I didn't want to come across as sexist here, but like, it just straight up feels like you are dealing with someone who just does not want to engage with reality, who will fucking gaslight you into oblivion. On the one hand, they will literally be like, Zoran is Mohammedan, is going to do 9/11 over and over and over again. Okay. And then you go, he's never fucking said anything of the sort. Like, what are you talking about? And then they'll say, Zoran is going to kill all the Jews, or Zoran is going to be terrifying to the Jews. And you're like, but he's never said anything anti-Semitic. And then they turn around and go, excuse me, why are you making everything about Israel? And it's like, well, I don't know, because you keep fucking talking about it. You keep talking about it nonstop. What do you mean? I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about fast and free buses. Shut up. You keep bringing the fucking convo back to this. And then you try to gaslight me mid-convo. You haven't even finished talking about how Zoran is going to kill all the Jews in New York or some shit. A ridiculous fucking smear tied to absolutely nothing. And I can't even get a fucking word in edgewise and counter to that without you going, excuse me. Why are we only talking about the Jews and the Muslims here? It's like, well, you are the one who's bringing it up. What the fuck? Andrew Cuomo basically made this strategy his campaign strategy. Okay? Andrew Cuomo made this his formative campaign strategy. He literally was like, I'm going to spam how much I dick ride Israel into oblivion. I am going to show people how much Zoran is anti-Israel, even though he don't want to talk about that shit at all. And then when he realized, oh, fuck, people actually don't fuck with Israel at all. Oh, no, what a failure. I just lost the primaries. He now turns around and goes, why is Zoran always talking about Israel and Gaza? It's like, I don't know, bitch, because you keep bringing it up.
You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
State, yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long, all day long. There's no special protection
because
for
what you're doing is you're decoding language
that
to
calls themselves
American
a Jewish state or a
and
Muslim
to say that
state.
we should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mandani to use it.
I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying. That's not true. We want Israel to be a safe haven for Jews.
For those of you who don't know what he's talking about Stephen Miller. This is Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife. But as soon as he says totally normal for a Miller to be lying, she goes alt mode, okay? It's so obvious what he's talking about there. He's talking about you and your husband both are fucking liars. But she turns around, and I didn't even know. Is Miller a Jewish last name, by the way? Is it? It's not, right? I don't think so. Because it's not. Okay. Anyway, he goes totally normal for a totally classic, like for a Miller to be lying. And she literally turns around. No, it's an English last name. Yeah, it's English. It's I assume Stephen Miller, who is Jewish and Judaism is matrilineal. I assume Stephen Miller's dad is not Jewish or something, right? I don't know. Or somewhere along the family line, there was a Christian. There was a Christian man that changed the last name of the dynasty. Because I think it's mostly like a predominantly like a WASP English last name. But regardless, it's very obvious what Jank is saying here, which is, you know, you and your husband are both liars, which is true. Stephen Miller is a fucking liar, and so is Katie Miller. But she turns around and goes, wow, anti-Semitism.
67 borders, but you guys say, no, more Palestinian land. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, take southern Lebanon. Your greed knows no bounds. And by the way, you and your husband are supposed to be working for America, not for Israel. I think you're betraying this country.
All right, Cenk, let Katie...
Piers,
right,
if I could just jump in here on a quick note.
Yeah, Omar, I'll come to you, but let Katie finish her point, then I'll come to you. Katie.
No, Piers, quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you.
Racist, bigoted rhetoric. Racist, bigoted rhetoric to the wife of one of the most powerful fascists on the planet. Okay? How dare you? How dare you engage in such racist, bigoted rhetoric talking about the immigration czar and the immigration czar's wife, who somehow also is a part of the fucking admin for some weird reason.
Against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your
in which
children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, Casey, to be clear,
he inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish?
So woke. I love this, bro. It's so stupid. It's so maybe it's because these guys haven't had a lot of time in the woke Olympics that they just like try to haphazardly slam it into every conversation. It is hilarious to see like Nazi woke scolds, right? But she's like she has not spent enough time in the woke minds like we did. So she doesn't know when and where to like actually push on this. So she's like, wow, you are engaging what all of the lesbian English lit majors call a microaggression. Like, what are you saying? Because like, even though it seems like if you listen to this administration, the only type of idpol that is always allowed, and the only type of idpol that we should care about is anti-Semitism. It doesn't even work in this situation because like he didn't even say anything anti-Semitic. Like if her last name was like Scheinbaum or something, and and Jake turned around and was like, oh, classic Scheinbaums, then you could at least say that. But like it's very obvious that one, your last name is very Anglo-Saxon, and two, he clearly was talking about you and your husband. It just doesn't work. No one gives a shit. Yeah, Stephen Miller's uncle also thinks he's a disgrace. Is he an anti-Semite too?
Come on, Pierce. Where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Katie,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your
if I can speak,
anti-Semite. Fire him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
All right, can we try and get
this country instead of Israel?
Can we try? All right, can we please? All right, let's stop the ad hominem attacks. Let's try and get this back to a more civilized debate, which is actually about the likely incoming mayor of New York.
Beast mode.
Katie, I was giving you the chance to respond.
Beast mode, beast mode, beast mode, beast mode, beast mode, beast mode. Uncle Jenk, beast mode.
If you want me to do it for you, I'm happy to do that. But normally in a panel discussion, if someone makes...
You know, Piers,
I agree, and you shouldn't be interrupted. So... Katie, let me just ask you, separate. Let's not get into ad hominem stuff. It's honestly, I think the viewers are sick of it. Let me just ask you, Katie, what is your fundamental opposition to Mamdani? Because my view of Mamdani is he's very charismatic. He's a skillful politician. He has reined back on some of the more inflammatory things. He undeniably said the stuff he said about the NYPD would be for some people disqualifying, frankly, in a city like New York. But he's managed to come through that by reining back on.
It's so funny because Pierce is like, listen, I hear you, I see you, I agree with you, but you have to make a better case. It's so funny. I mean, he cares more about content than anything else. Like he would have Hamas fighters on if he could. Okay. He does not give a shit. Of course, if he were to have like a resistance fighter, the first thing would be like, all right, well, Abu Ubaidah, do you condemn Hamas? But like, he would do it. He just cares about maxing out on the content. He's a content demon. But he has his own personal politics as well. And yes, he's moved on the Israel stuff to a certain degree. It doesn't really matter much to me. I know that he is. I know what his actual opinions are, right? Like, it's pretty clear. He will always be. He will always follow along with the majority position. And he was an incredible nuisance to deal with for a very long time, even though he did give a lot of space to pro-Palestinian speakers, myself included. My point is, he doesn't, I don't think Piers Morgan likes Zohran Mamdani, right? I don't think he is a fan of Zohran Mamdani. He wants content to take place, and he also wants people to make a convincing case that Zohran Mamdani sucks. But the problem is, these people are not capable of doing that because they get insane.
Some of that stuff. And he is, as Cenk Uygur rightly points out, he has a remarkable popularity with young Jewish New Yorkers. I mean, it is remarkable that for someone who people have branded anti-Semitic, a lot of Jewish New Yorkers simply don't agree. They want to vote for him. So he is what he is. I also think, as Gillian pointed out, that probably a more obvious stick to beat him with politically.
Why'd you stop going on Piers Morgan? I just don't think it's like super productive for me. I get too heated. That's it. Cenk does a very good job of just like screaming into the fucking void. Whereas I feel like for me, I just get annoyed by it, even though I have seen, I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of benefit for it. Like, my Piers Morgan moments are all-time greats in the pro-Palestinian media moments, for sure. Like, there are, and I'm glad that I did it as early as I did, because if you look at like my TikTok, for example, there's one in one of my highlights on TikTok. Where is it? Hold on. Like this one, right?
Is Israel.
This one is straight up from like a week after October 7, right? This is a week after October 7. I'm on Piers Morgan and I'm defending the Palestinian resistance and the Palestinian people in this argument. And I'm glad that this is out there for historic record, right? Because every single thing that I talked about in these conversations is now a part of the broader consensus opinion. Having said that, however, I just think it's not the most productive way to get the word out, you know?
Not allowed to defend itself from the worst terror attack since 9/11. If their mission now is to get rid of Hamas, then what they are doing is consistent with that, isn't it?
No, you said Israel has a right to defend itself. Absolutely zero people think that this is a ridiculous statement. However, how Israel is defending itself is collective punishment. Collective punishment in the form of depriving 2.2 million people of electricity, of water, of food, 51 people dying in the West Bank where, you know, there is no Hamas in the West Bank, killing 3,480 Palestinians so far in Gaza, 1,000 plus children, 22 hospitals being bombed. These are horrifying crimes that you would openly say are horrifying and unjustifiable when Russia does it, but when Israel does it, Israel has a right to defend itself. This is identical to the same talking points that I've heard from every Israeli administration official. It's the same thing that I've heard from everyone else in the media. You might have been against the Iraq war, but you're using that for evil, in my opinion, at this point, if you are not sitting here and condemning those war crimes, those acts of violence, those acts of collective punishment.
That was, again, I think a week after October 7, or maybe 2 weeks after October 7, okay? It was shortly after October 7. And let me tell you, ain't nobody wanted to hear that, okay? And nobody wanted to hear that from a dude named Hassan, especially. It wasn't actually 10/21. It was, I think, a day prior or like 2 days prior. I don't know. This shit is such an echo chamber. Yeah, it is. But guess what? It's right. It's correct. Okay? And ironically enough, I'm actually describing the fact that it wasn't such an echo chamber back then because I was steadfast in my opinion and I defended my position, and many people didn't want to fucking hear it. Many people did not want to hear it. They were like, nah, fuck you. They left. Only to come back later, but yeah, a third of my audience was like, nah, this guy's a fucking terrorist. What the hell? Yeah. The 10-7 leavers and the 10-7 returners. So I'm glad that I did it at the time because I was invested in getting the word out. But the reason why I stopped doing it was because I felt like it was unproductive, and I would rather just like continue doing my advocacy without having it turn into a fucking clown show. That's the reason why I stopped going on Piers Morgan. It's just not for me. But every now and then I'll still go back and watch these videos because I think they do a phenomenal job. Jake does a great job. He is the perfect person to go on these types of shows and yell at everybody. And I think there's great content that comes out of it. And there's great humiliation that comes out of it for all of these oppositional figures. Right? But it's just, you know, I don't enjoy rolling in the mud that much.
Are his views, which are pretty socialist. And what is fascinating about this politically...
there was one other aspect of this Katie Miller clip that I want to show. Jank jiggling the keys in front of Alan Lichtman is an all-timer. Pulling his keys out of his pocket to be like, yeah, what happened to your keys, Alan? What happened to your 13 keys? It's one of the best moments. All-time banger. Alan is on the verge of tears, and Jank is just going beast mode, really rubbing it in. Really rubbing in his ginormous failure. In any case, what do you call it? Katie Miller responds back with like some threats about potentially deporting Jank, which is expected. Okay. Let's take a look.
Hold on. So
you better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust
application and hope everything was legally
all the
and correct.
pogroms were disgusting.
Like
that doesn't mean that Israel...
Oh my God. Miller then threatens Cenk Uygur's citizenship because he destroyed her in a debate. How pathetic and disturbed. Cenk said, I hope I don't get deported for winning a debate. If Princess Snowflake is going to enter the arena, she has to understand there's no crying to mommy. If she has to ask her husband to deport everyone she loses the debate to, we're going to start running out of people. Oh my God. Take on Steven instead. Let's see how you do. Would love to. If he stops hiding behind his wife, it'd be my pleasure to take him on. Steven, debate, anytime, any place. These people are rapacious scumbags, okay? Unimaginable monsters. It is alarming that they feel comfort. They feel so comfortable playing fast and loose with the law and behaving in this way. They're fucking annoying, intolerant, entitled crybullies. I can't stand them. I can't fucking stand them. Part of the reason why I think they will lose in the end is because of this reason, where they are not even trying to entertain making a positive argument. Did you see this guy who lost the debate to you is crying to the Senate about how scary you are?
Type of left-wing ideology.
What is this? Hassan gets mentioned in the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing by right-wing podcaster. That's awesome. I didn't even see this. Michael Knowles. Once again, I like that the Republicans have decided after sequencing out some of the most horrifying violence in their commentary, they have the audacity to turn around and be like, yeah, these guys that we actually debate against, sometimes they win too hard. I haven't even thought about this fucking loser in years. And he's over here being like, he's scary. Please, mods, please arrest him. Please. Holy hell, you can't go one day without being mentioned by the federal government now. It's just, oh God, it's fucking, it is, It is so goddamn annoying. More drama slop has dropped about Kaige. What do you mean? Who gives a fuck, dude? Listen, you have to understand something. I got government ops, okay? I can't be dealing with whatever fucking supposedly apolitical content creator had to say about me on a daily fucking basis, okay? And it's so funny that all of these people that are supposedly liberals, that present themselves as liberals, present themselves as defenders of democracy, small d democracy, and the Democratic Party, are so quick to align with some of the most nefarious right-wing forces. Something to consider. Just saying. Okay? Something to fucking consider. It's just strange that all these people who are like, I hate Donald Trump, I hate JD Vance, but you know who I hate more? Fucking Hassan Piker. And I actually will find myself in allegiance with JD Vance and also Michael Knowles as long as they are giving it to my least favorite person. Interesting. Hassan's career is the true monkey paw wish. No, it's just the same exact dynamic that you've seen throughout patterns of historic fascist movement development that you are literally watching get relitigated in real time in even the smallest fucking corners of the internet in the dumbest way possible, where you have liberals who are unserious about opposing this administration, actively leaning into this administration at a time when they are in the fucking crosshairs themselves without even realizing that they themselves are in the crosshairs, only because the fascists are opposing their true enemy, it seems, socialists. I have less smoke for liberals than liberals do for me, because I understand that liberalism is a broader movement. Liberalism is a mass movement. I want to bring liberals onto our side. I want liberals to fight against fascism. I want liberals to fight against the Trump administration, oppose the horrifying things that they're doing. And that's precisely the reason why when the Democratic Party does things that I agree with, I give them credit for it. Even if they're doing a horrible job of defending it on principle, I still stand by them, like this government shutdown and the way that they have successfully been able to show the American public that the reason why the shutdown is happening is because Republicans are refusing to fund ACA subsidies. Okay? And in the process, they are dangling the starvation of 40 million Americans in an effort not to offer those subsidies where people's premiums are going to triple. Okay? It's fucking crazy. If I can let bygones be bygones, because I don't give a shit about irrelevant drama or the back and forth, because I recognize that there's a far more consequential thing happening here with respect to what the goddamn with respect to what the goddamn government is doing to the American people as a whole, including even MAGA voters, okay? Then you should be able to do that too. So I always say, one, judge me by my enemies. And I always tell you, two, pay close attention to what people focus on, what your favorite content creators focus on. Maybe you find yourself watching some of these other content creators, and they spend a good deal of time attacking someone like myself every step of the way. In this day and age, right now, in this very moment, when we are in the throes of fascism, if they are spending most of their time aligning with the administration against a person that they've declared the true enemy of their movement, someone like myself, then they're unserious. In the most charitable interpretation, they're unserious. And in the least charitable interpretation, they don't care about the growing fascist movement in this country. You're not worried these libs won't throw you to the wolves because it feels more likely every day? No, I'm not. Because I think that there are, especially in the broader liberal movement, whether it be the Podjons or whether it be people like Philip DeFranco or whether it be all of these people that are voters of the Democratic Party, they actually do take this seriously. Unlike the fucking content creators that want to hyper focus on drama and actively try to advance their own personal distaste, advance their own personal agendas. That's it. That's it. So no, I don't think so. I think the Wine Mom Coalition, the boomers, they are far more serious about the ways in which this administration has moved, okay? And they are far more invested in opposing this fascist government than the random liberal, like self-described liberal content creator who is hyper-focused and hyper-invested in like slop. That's it. There's a reason why I don't talk about them and instead talk about whatever the fuck's going on in the world, because I think that is far more consequential. My job is to communicate all of the awful things that this administration is doing. My job is not to just like always be invested in fucking dealing with drama.
The belief that ideas don't really matter.
Even if that drama sometimes turns into statements that are a matter of official congressional record.
And that we're really just warring groups that must clobber each other over the head, which is why you're seeing the increased violence there. I think you saw this not only in the horrific assassination of Charlie, but in the reactions that came afterward. As the scene was unfolding, a Democrat analyst, Matthew Dowd, on MSNBC, the left-wing cable outlet.
Yeah, he didn't say nothing wrong, by the way. He was correct about Charlie Kirk, and I cannot believe that they fucking punished him for it. What is this? Oh, I saw this TikTok, yeah.
Blamed Charlie Kirk. He said, quote, "Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions." The New York Times reacted by publishing the assassination-related musings of Hassan Piker, a prominent left-wing streamer.
Yeah, except I was about to fucking debate Charlie, and he can't find anything that I've said about Charlie that's even remotely violent. You want to hear something even more ironic? Michael Knowles, just like all these other fucking Republican charlatans, actually immediately tried to take over Charlie's position in Dartmouth. Did you know that? Yeah, I'll tell you. He was like, oh, I'll debate him in Charlie's place. Yeah. Sharks. Fucking sharks. It was supposed to be Ben Shapiro, and then Ben Shapiro said no. And then Michael Knowles was the replacement, and Megyn Kelly. Yeah, bunch of vultures. And then he has the audacity to bring my name up in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Interesting. Yeah, I said no to the Michael Knowles thing. I was like, he's fucking no motion. I don't give a shit about duking it out with Michael Knowles. I'll do it for Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro said no. And then Michael Knowles was like, I'll take his place. I said no. I was like, I don't want to fucking debate the fourth most relevant fucking Daily Wire guy. Ben Shapiro himself is not even relevant. The only reason why I would have done the Ben Shapiro thing is at least because of all the previous years of Ben Shapiro's work that at least would make that moment more important. In any case, yeah, all of my ops fell off, which is why I have new ops now. I have government ops. But yeah. Whatever, who gives a shit? All right, dictionary.com. Pick 6-7 as 2025's word of the year. Look at that. The Riley Gaines of Daily Wire. It's true.
If you're the parent of a child of a certain age, the new dictionary.com word of the year will probably sound familiar. It's the slang phrase 6-7.
Yeah, I was supposed to be debating Ben Shapiro. He said no. Oh, this is the other thing I wanted to show you guys. This is actually a pretty decent take. Let's look.
Watching Hassan not only because he proved himself to be a misogynist and racist.
The rad lib domino effect bandwagoning circular firing squad that I've witnessed in the past month or so surrounding this man has honestly been terrifying. It's really been scary to witness, to see how quickly the so-called left will turn on its own mouthpieces, to see how easy it is to create a leper over here. You can do it like that. like that. It takes virtually nothing for an accusation to become guilt, or in this case, for a coordinated smear campaign by the right wing, because they know exactly what buttons to push in our lefty little pea brains to get us to operationalize and weaponize identity politics against each other. And I'm not saying this because I think Hassan Piker is the greatest person on earth, or he didn't do and say things that deserve criticism, or that you have to listen to him. You don't have to fucking listen to him. I'm just saying this because this is indicative of where we are. If we keep doing this, we keep creating lepers like this, then there will never be any power, any movement, any leverage, anything over here. We will just continue to spiral in our purity and our self-flagellation and our priestliness and our cannibalization into absolute obscurity and irrelevance while fascism takes over the rest of the world. That is where we are. That is.
It's true. It's a self-defeating cycle. And the right wing know exactly how to manipulate liberals and leftists of different varieties into action to play a formative role in destroying whoever the fuck they have that are like the most visible elements within their advocacy movement. Some people, I think, do it because they're self-interested. We've seen a lot of those people. A lot of those people have been routinely disparaged because they've made a fool of themselves over and over again throughout the years. If you've been in here long enough, you know, you got the, what is it, like Suki's mom or whatever. There's like so many different examples of like people that used to say, I have betrayed the revolutionary cause. I'm not a real leftist. I'm sheepdogging people in the Democratic Party, only for them to turn around and become out and about right-wing MAGA supporters. Many such examples exist. One of the greatest ones is obviously Jimmy Dore, right? So there are people like that. There are people like that that have existed in this space for a very long time. I've never actually changed my perspective on any of this shit, but it is really interesting. And I have seen this so many fucking times over where like people are so easily duped, not just like the content creators or the advocates themselves. There are so many people who very quickly will just go, oh, this guy is bad because of this reason or that reason. And instead of actually doing their own research, instead of like, you know, coming to this conclusion on their own by like tackling the subject matter, looking into any number of different videos that I have on any number of different subjects that I'm being called out for having bigoted opinions over, people just immediately go, nah, he's bad. It's over. This guy's awful. We need to find someone else. And then they'll turn around and be like, why don't we have any fucking cool leftists out there? I don't know, because we are whack. We're just broadly a whack movement. Okay. There is this like weird gatekeeping culture on the left, which I find to be strange because like our goal is to fucking educate the masses. Like this is a mass movement. You need to have mass mobilization. So like there's the weird gatekeeping aspect of the left where they're like, oh no, we're reaching a lot larger of a movement. We got to make sure that we actually fucking cut this in half, please. What is going on? And then there's also people that like people that have this improper understanding or don't want to. You don't watch them, bro, and you are doing gatekeeping now? Wait, you don't watch who? Jimmy is good, though? You don't watch him? Wait, what? Jimmy Dore? Brother, I know Jimmy Dore personally. What the fuck are you talking about? I have rarely ever brought up Jimmy Dore. What are you talking about? This is one of the few instances where I've actually brought him up. Baited. Okay, you got me. Whining about purity tests is a waste of time. There is truth to this. There is truth to whining about purity tests. It's like the leftist version of constantly fucking decrying cancel culture that right-wing comics do, right? It's always like, oh my God, wokeness ruined comedy. Oh my God, cancel culture ruined comedy. It's kind of like a leftist version of that as well. But just like there is some truth to the chirpers on that front, there is some truth in this instance as well. It's good to sometimes to do a little bit of housekeeping. Okay? It's important. It's important to do a little bit of housekeeping. It's not, this community is one of the few places on the internet where this community is one of the few places on the internet, and you should know this. You've been in here and you've been a subscriber for 7 months at this point, where we don't do that. Like we are more open-minded, or at least I try to make sure that we are more open-minded to people who are on their own personal journey, right? Housekeeping, there are just people that disagree with you, man. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is one of the most annoying aspects of just being a content creator on the internet, where the thing that everybody fucking hates about Twitter back in the day was you say you like pancakes, and someone comes out and says, wow, you must hate waffles. And you turn around and say, no, I didn't say that. There's a whole ass different sentence. Why are you yelling at me over this? And yet, being a content creator on this fucking medium, where I'm constantly doing this back and forth with the chatters, is me having to deal with that all the time. You literally are just coming in and reframing what I'm trying to explain to people in the most cynical way possible. Why do you do this? It doesn't make any sense. Is it the only way that you can feel fucking alive? I don't understand. Okay? I'm sorry, but it takes like an hour out of each day. Okay, well, yeah, it's important. It's important to fucking reinforce this, okay? Because I want people to understand. I want people to understand that this is not a place where you can get away with doing that shit. It is literally community building. It's a formative part of community building. It's a formative part of how I want to build this community, okay? And one of the things that I see as someone who comes from this fucking background is that we come across as not approachable to the normies. We just do. We just come across as like so punitive to the normies. We don't understand that many people's perspectives are still shaped by their own social conditions, on their own material conditions. We don't have any fucking interest in identifying that as a major reason for why bigotry manifests in society. And if you recognize that that is why bigotry manifests in society, you have to be a little bit more, a little less defensive when you meet it. Okay. And if I can do it with unlimited amounts of Islamophobia that I fucking eat on a daily basis, you should also try to do that to the best of your ability. And if you can't do it, and I'm very understanding of that, because no one should have to constantly justify their humanity over and over again, then it's understandable that you can just like dial it back a little bit, okay? Maybe take some time off, right? That's it.
And the site...
Isn't that just right-wing framing? What do you mean? No, it's not. It's a reflection of reality. If culture is born out of the material realities that we exist in, okay, then social learning, like leftists always say, America is a white supremacist nation. And it's true, right? White supremacy is in our fundamentals. White supremacy is a formative first principle for American societal development, whether it be the absolute destruction and the genocide of the indigenous populations, the permanent expansion and land acquisitions over indigenous territory, or whether it be the continuation and defense of chattel slavery, the enslavement of African folk, okay? This is a part of American history. And a lot of these historic wrongs have rarely ever been fully addressed. As a matter of fact, even to this day, when I say something like that, many right-wingers will turn around and say, how dare you say this? America is actually the land of dreams. Okay? I choose to look at the positives. You choose to look at the negatives, or whatever the fuck. But one thing that leftists, I feel like, don't actually factor into this consideration is how broader societal patterns reflect that historical failure, that historical violence. If you say America is a white supremacist nation, you have to also understand that many people are going to have some of those tendencies, okay? Some of those tendencies are going to be nascent in the collective consciousness of the masses. And if you want to change those people's opinions, you can either turn around and immediately yell at them and say, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist, you did a microaggression against me. Or you can try to soften your approach. And I totally understand that not everyone wants to take on this emotional labor, as I always factor this in. I say, look, if you're a black person and you constantly have to fucking deal with this shit on your day-to-day existence, then it's probably going to suck if you find yourself in the throes of having to do it here. a relatively safer space. Okay? And you will turn around and say, that's easy if you're not targeted. That's why I'm factoring people who are targeted. Okay? And also, I have a point of marginalization that has been a fairly important part of the political conversation over the last 2 years, don't you think? You know, I know it too. I experience it as well. And I have to fucking eat it all the goddamn time. Do you think I enjoy having to talk to people who call me a terrorist every goddamn day? Do you think I enjoy the fact that there is heavy scrutiny over the things I'm saying? But that would never work in the same vein if I was a white Jewish American of Ashkenazi descent. The same exact things that I'm saying right now. If I was a white Jewish American of Ashkenazi descent, no one fucking give a shit. The same exact things I'm saying right now. If I was a white Christian American and not even of Jewish descent, nobody would give a shit. Okay? That's just the reality. But when you're Muslim, there is an additional oomph to the way that people fucking cover this stuff. And as someone who recognizes that, I choose to fucking eat it every goddamn day. So yes, I do understand the point of marginalization and the dehumanization, okay? It is what it is. In order to make a broader point, in order to get people to understand your position, in order to get people on your side, sometimes you have to. Are you still simping for the mass murderer? Who's the mass murderer I'm simping for? Benjamin Netanyahu? Is that what you're fucking talking about? What the hell? What, is this the new meta? I don't even know what the fuck you mean. I want to know. I want to understand what the fuck this person's talking about. In any case, let's move on. Trump says he's reached a deal with China's Xi. Here's what to know.
From President Trump at his meeting in China, he says he reached a temporary truce in his trade war. That after meeting with China's Xi Jinping last evening. But before the meeting, the president also made an announcement about nuclear weapons, an announcement that could be seen as a provocation. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House covering it all for us. Ed, good morning. A lot of questions here.
There sure are, Tony. The president's on his way back here, but that meeting with Xi Jinping was the grand finale and main event of the president's week-long trip to Asia. The leaders of the two largest economies talked for over an hour and 40 minutes. The president says the U.S. can sign a trade deal with China, quote, very soon after they settled some key issues.
Trump went to China before you. This is true. But hopefully his advocacy for the Chinese century of prosperity is going to allow me to have a more comfortable trip in the glorious nation of the People's Republic of China. Okay? That makes me happy. He did this in Korea, but in his heart, he was in China. This news channel called you a Muslim extremist. Look at the timestamp, 1246.
Really on the intersection of Muslim extremism, including one podcaster known as Hassan Piker, which Sliwa and Cuomo have tried to make an issue of. He said, quote unquote, America deserved 9/11.
Like, can you imagine having to hear this from probably a right winger? Like, I'm a Muslim extremist, dude. You have to be a fucking psychopath. They say this shit about Ilhan Omar too. Myself, Zohran Mamdani, Ilhan Omar are some of the most progressive, visible politicians or political advocates in the country, whether it be uncompromising values in defense for trans people or advancing an agenda that revolves around uplifting the material conditions of all American workers, okay? Defending Medicare for all, defending free college. And yet these fucking people who are to my right socially have the audacity to turn around and fucking say that I'm a Muslim extremist. This is Islamophobia. That's what it is, okay? That's what it is. It's just racism. It's just rank racism. There's no other way to fucking go about it, right? This is the exact same position of every slop tuber op as well, something to consider. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. A lot of fucking slop tubers do this shit too, where they go, oh, this guy is a fucking Muslim extremist. The fuck do you mean, brother? I've seen the way you talk about other marginalized identities. The fuck are you talking about? I'm the Muslim extremist. You're the fucking extremist. It's crazy. Anyway, I don't want to fucking talk about this any longer because goddamn, it just gets so fucking annoying to have to relitigate this shit over and over again. We're moving on. We're talking about American century of humiliation versus Chinese century of prosperity. Okay?
And we're going to have a very successful meeting, I have no doubt.
In their first face-to-face meeting since 2019, President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping greeted each other warmly as they met for much-anticipated trade talks.
It's a great honor to be with a friend of mine.
After imposing retaliatory tariffs for the last 6 months, Trump now says they have a deal.
We'll talk about Prince Andrew as well.
Pretty soon.
We have a deal. Now, every year we'll renegotiate the deal, but I think the deal will go on for a long time.
Well,
yeah, U.S.-China trade deal, baby. I love this, okay? I love this. Trump is a fake demon, okay? 100%. But it's really funny because this is the most Trumpian move. This is so perfectly Trump. Fuck something up and then put the pieces back together haphazardly. The art of the deal, the art of the steal, okay? He fucked it up. Then he postured. He postured for months like he was a real demon, okay? Only to turn around and be like, I was just kidding. I'm a fake demon, okay? I'm a fake demon. Please, let's fix this. Please, let's fix this. And now his dumb fuck followers will turn around and unironically act as though he actually fucking solved something. Yeah, he solved something he broke. How is this good? How is this a good thing? It doesn't make any sense to me that there are so many Americans that literally watch this shit unfold and think, oh, he's so brilliant. He goes into a room and he starts shitting on the walls. You say, what the fuck are you doing? You're shitting on the walls and you're smearing your dookie on the walls. He then stops smearing dookie on the walls and then expects you to thank him. It's like, okay, but before you entered the room, there were no dookie on the walls. You put the dookie on the fucking wall. Clean the dookie. It blows my mind. It blows my fucking mind, dude. He goes, hey, listen, I could have kept smearing more shit on the walls, but I stopped. I fixed it. I fixed it. No, you broke it, and then you didn't fix shit. It's still worse than before you came in.
Nothing is official yet. Trump says the U.S. will reduce tariffs on Chinese goods by 10% as China works to reduce the flow of illegal fentanyl.
This is the best one. He's like, yeah, we did this for fentanyl. That was a fake reason anyway. And now the fake reason is what? Gonna be solved? Okay, got it.
And Trump says China will resume buying American soybeans and ease its limits on the export of rare earth minerals needed to make batteries and other key technology.
There's no roadblock at all on rare earth. That will hopefully disappear from our vocabulary for a little while.
According to Chinese state media, Xi agreed to reach a consensus on important economic and trade issues. The president says he plans to go to China in April as the two leaders continue to mend a volatile relationship.
On the scale from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12. Okay, I think it was a 12. I think very importantly, just the whole relationship is very, very important.
Very interesting, Ed. But before you go, on the nuclear question, just before the meeting, Trump said he was directing the Pentagon to resume testing nuclear weapons. What more can you tell us on that?
Yeah, the president said in a social media post that he wants to resume those tests on a, quote, equal basis with Russia and China. That would be a major shift since the U.S. hasn't carried out such tests since the early 1990s. The president offered no details about the timing of the specific tests by other countries he was referring to. Also on this trip, the president said his administration is going to share technology that will allow South Korea to build a nuclear-powered submarine over here in the U.S. in Philadelphia. The South Koreans want to do so to defend the waters around the Korean peninsula. So it's a big military win for the Koreans and a potential economic boost for the United States. Tony?
All right, Ed, thank you very much.
It's the latest twist in the US-China trading relationship, but it's worth taking stock of just how we got here. This is what Donald Trump's been up to since coming into power the second time round. You can see that within months of coming into office, he was ramping up tariffs on China, first with that 10% broad-based tariff to punish them for their role in the fentanyl trade. That was then increased to 20%. And by spring, you can see things had reached boiling point, a tit-for-tat trade war. This was in the midst of Liberation Day. You might remember when Trump announced tariffs on countries across the world. China hit back. The US tariff was hitting about 145%, both countries effectively deciding to stop trading with each other. Tempers calmed. Behind the scenes, both sides have been trying to figure out a long-lasting deal. But then at the beginning of the month, well, things flared up again. China announced export controls on rare earth elements that are critical for modern-day manufacturing. Trump threatened them with an additional 100% tariff. Well, we've heard today that, again, things have calmed down, talks have gone well, and Trump actually announced that he would reduce that 20% fentanyl tariff to 10%. So that's where we're at now. But as you can see, the state of things, the average tariffs are still higher than they were at the beginning of the year. And we can see how the new baseline has shifted in this next chart as well, how the new normal has shifted. In his first presidency, Trump was very much focused on targeted tariffs on things like electricals, solar panels, and steel. These are kind of the amount of goods that are under the purview of tariffs. Biden didn't really change things too much, but nor did he row back. And then second time round, where you can see Trump has ratcheted things up. Now everything is subject to a tariff. We're at 100%. When we talk about tariffs, as we know, this isn't all about tariffs. It's also about export controls. And here, rare earth elements is something, as I mentioned, China is really weaponizing. The US, for their part, can control computer chips and the export of computer chips to China, particularly NVIDIA's AI chips.
Yeah. By the way, there was one quote that I read of Xi Jinping giving up TikTok and using that as like a leverage point in the deal. And he literally said, I didn't care much for TikTok. It felt like digital opiates for me. Which is funny because that's what I've said about TikTok in terms of like how it entered the American marketplace. He straight up, he was like, I don't really care much for TikTok. It always struck me as digital opiates, which is, it's true. And not only is it true, but what's interesting about it is that like they don't have it in China. That's what I've always pointed to with respect to TikTok, where I was like, they quite literally see TikTok. Here it is. If they thought TikTok was a useful tool, they would have the same exact thing in China. But Douyin is far, far more controlled. Okay. And I think you will see more and more people come to terms with the walled garden approach or the Chinese firewall, the great digital firewall, as a necessary thing. The worse our AI-induced hallucinating masses get due to unlimited amounts of internet. But yeah, here he said it right here. The concession was TikTok. The quiet calculation, balancing pressure with appeasement, now forms the bedrock of China's strategy. In the tense lead up to trade talks in Madrid this September, Xi knew he needed to offer a concession to get what he truly wanted. Summits with Trump to hash out issues one-on-one. The concession was TikTok. For Trump, forcing the sale of the high-profile app was a populist victory framed around national security. For Xi, however, the app was a low-cost bargaining chip. He had privately dismissed it as spiritual opium, according to the people close to Beijing, and viewed it as an easy sacrifice to secure the continued dialogue China needed. As a result, Xi set the stage for a series of summits with Trump. This happened already. After the meeting next week in South Korea, Beijing hopes to arrange a Trump visit to China early next year, and finally a Xi trip to the U.S. in late 2026. I'm confused. Are you defending the firewall? What's your take on it? I unironically think that the Chinese firewall that was developed was presented as a way to keep the Chinese masses from the way that it was presented in the West was like, oh, this is a bad thing. And it's understandable. We have a much more social libertarian perspective when it comes to free flowing information and things of that nature here in the West. And I agree with that in principle. But for many, many years, it was talked about as though like the firewall was created to silence and oppress the Chinese masses. And it turns out it was actually to keep us out because we are poisonous. I mean, look to every other country where they wear fucking MAGA hats when they are doing protests, right-wing protests. Look to every other country that gets their notes from our fascists. Even countries with historic fascist movements have dropped their own historic fascist movements for the American Burger Reich style fascism. Clearly, we are fucking brain poison. Can't we find a middle ground that isn't censorship while not having an Elon Grokpedia? If it's one or the other, I think the other might be better. Listen. I'm in America. I love free speech and I will defend it. Okay. But I don't think there is a middle ground. I don't think there is a middle ground is my point. The firewall was set in place before MAGA, though, wasn't it? Yes. Absolutely. It was. I think initially it was so that there wasn't a lot of intervention. But nowadays, as people's attitudes change about American brain poison manifesting all around the world, people are coming to that reality that potentially this initial attempt at making sure that American brain poison couldn't enter the Chinese digital airwaves could have possibly been a good idea. I don't know. I'm so black-pilled. I read this long article about the literacy rates plummeting in the United States of America and how, like, throughout history, it was a Baffler magazine article. It was really good. And it fucking black-pilled me. It's so hard. Talking about the oratory tradition initially, and then like the invention of the printing press, and how like people's way of thinking changed as a consequence of how we disseminated information in the past, before the printing press, or before writing in general, before literacy in general was a thing. We just kind of passed information along, and we thought differently about the world, and we are now going back to that. Yeah, here it is. The addictive nature of smartphones is a very serious problem contributing to the decline of literacy, but the phones exist in a social context and not the other way around. And this goes through this long, this long and convoluted, not convoluted, but like it's a pretty solid history of literacy, and how initially the elites were reluctant to allow the masses to learn how to read. And how after they were allowed to read, how the not the financial elite, but the academic elite still was like, oh, these masses are stupid. They just want to read fucking fiction and blah, 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 like irrelevant shit. All the way down to the invention of the radio and what that did to literacy rates, the invention of the television, what that did to literacy rates, and then the invention of the internet and what that did to literacy rates, and then the invention of short form content on the internet and what that has done to literacy rates. Which is why you have like 70% of Americans that can read at like a fucking competent 6th grade level only, whereas the literacy rates in China is at like 94%. And it even brings up the fact that America unironically tried to advance and improve literacy rates in the United States of America because they were seeing the USSR create a much more competent labor force, a much smarter labor force. And that's the reason why they actually greatly pushed it here in the United States of America, to try to get the Americans to learn how to fucking read and write at a competent level. But now in the age of AI with short form video, it's fucking over. This is why I always stress the importance of whoever listens to me. This is why I always tell them, don't fuck with AI. You will literally have a tremendous upper hand against the rest of your generation if you actually still continue to try and wire your brain the old-fashioned way. You will not fall into the trap of cognitive offloading, and you will be able to create critical thinking skills that will be infinitely more valuable in the future when all of those tasks are delegated to a fucking machine. I'm not saying be a Luddite. I'm not saying don't fuck with AI at all, but it's very important. And not only that, but the piece also brings this up, and this is something I talked about before as well. There is a class dynamic here. Wealthy children go to schools and camps where they are not allowed to have their phones, so they can have a normal development. Whereas the children of the poor, the dispossessed masses, they go to public school where there's no such consideration or care. So they literally fucking slam their brains with unimaginable toxicity on a daily basis and probably warp their fucking collective consciousness. Yeah. Rich people look to the future and recognize the dangers and try to make sure that their next of kin, the next generation, is not as warped by this. Okay? Is not as warped by this at all. Whereas the children of the poor will get fucked. China is not a utopia, but its citizens have a brighter future than ours, and they will be able to read about it thanks to a socio-political system that still sees literacy as necessary and retains primacy over private capital. That's one of the takeaways from the article. I mean, it's in the article, sorry. And it's actually a brilliant take. And it sucks because I get it. I get wanting to. Dude, if you ask me if I've seen Predictive History one more time, I'm going to fucking put you on a spaceship, okay? Yes, I have. Please stop spamming this guy. Oh my God. I have. He has some interesting takes and then some fucking kooky ass ones. Okay, calm down. Jesus Christ. Y'all just find one crank on the internet with like a decent fucking take on one issue and then just like keep spamming it over and over again. Please stop. We're talking about something different and perhaps more consequential. Okay? TikTok about AI and education echoing exactly what you're saying. The kids now who are using AI without guardrails are frying their ability to learn. Yes. I'm not saying anything about Professor Jiang. He seems chill, okay? I just, not, time and place. Okay? He also does have some crank-ass takes, to be fair. Right-wingers have been making fake AI videos of supposed black women demanding taxpayers keep paying their food stamps. I know. And the chuds are eating it up. I know. I saw this. The future is so dire, folks. We're going to be talking about this in a little bit when we get to the SNAP benefits getting cut. Just shut the fuck up about AI. No, I will not. TV will make us dumb. It's a scourge to society. Fuck normal development. School is jail. Emancipate our children. Dude, I'm Mr. Broad Tent, okay? I'm Mr. Popular Front. But goddamn, some of you fucking crusty-ass anarchists, like, for no reason whatsoever, give credence to what the USSR did with these kinds of behaviors, okay? It's fucking crazy. Anarchist who's also pro AI is awesome. I need you to understand, technological developments is great. I'm a fan, okay? This even includes AI. But, and this is a very important but, there are important cognitive developments that need to take place. Okay? You just need to do that. You need to fucking do that. Okay? You need to work your brain. It's a muscle. People forget it. Children's labor was crucial to the survival of the whole household. So much so that socialist newspaper Égalité denounced compulsory schooling, declaring that the practice would wrest from the working family a resource it cannot spare. Child labor. Okay? Anyway, it's a really great piece. I read it. It was very black pilling. And yeah, In reality, they are far away from AGI, the actual goal of AI. Unless it is achieved within the next year, expect the fallout to be massive. Look at the straws they are grabbing at, selling AI bots that aren't actually AI, but actually Indian-like Amazon stores. Oh.
It's here, the first humanoid robot housekeeper.
Thank you, Neo.
For $20,000, you can pre-order 1X's Neo robot now, with delivery in 2026.
I think you missed a tiny spot over here.
Just one little catch. There may be a human behind the curtain, pulling the robot's strings.
Oh my God.
If I throw up, will the robot throw up?
A company representative may need to peer into your house via Neo's camera eyes to get things done.
To many people, this is crazy.
You have to be okay with this for the product to be useful.
But is Neo a useful product?
We're twinning now, Neo.
Home robots have had two big challenges: creating a safe and capable body and a smart brain. 1X is taking on both of those, which is why Neo looks so different from a more industrial factory robot.
Neo, it's 70 degrees here in California. Why are you wearing a sweater?
Good question. Bernd, why am I wearing a sweater?
It's a combination of safety and just also generally aesthetics. You can think of it kind of like a skin, except if it was an actual skin, that would probably be pretty creepy.
It would be creepy, but I actually wasn't all that creeped out by Neo.
Inside Neo, it really starts with some very, very powerful motors that we have developed here at 1X. These motors are so strong and light that instead of using the classical gears that you see in robots, we can actually pull on tendons loosely inspired by biology and muscles. This allows Neo to move around not just quietly and smoothly, but also be very, very lightweight and be very low energy in motion, just like people.
That lightweight design is intended for our safety, in case the 66-pound robot falls. Although Neo is capable of lifting up to 150 pounds, it's not as superhuman as you'd think.
Crush it. It's a walnut.
There's this concept that we think that robots are like superhuman in like pressure and like.
Bro, this is literally like a significantly disabled slave. Who the fuck is like, this is goated, I need this in my house? Like, that's what this is. It blows my fucking mind. You gotta be a real ass freak for this, dude.
Strength. And some robots are, because they're heavily geared, but that means you're not sensitive, right?
And it's also not even AI. It's literally controlled by a dude in a low-cost labor site somewhere far, far away on the other side of the fucking planet.
Delicate. Neo doesn't work like this at all. It works more like us. So the finger strength of Neo is about the same as a human.
It's so crazy because like people will go, oh, well, what about the disabled? Like disabled people need something like this. No, they don't. They need at-home care. The fuck are you talking about? They need a real human being to do these jobs much better than this person. And the government should at least either subsidize that or pay for it with a decent wage. What the fuck are we doing?
That body lets Neo try to do a lot of things humans do. Emphasis on try.
Can I get a water?
If only the real world didn't have doors. All in, it took Neo a little over a minute to fetch a water from the fridge 10 feet away.
Thank you, Neo.
Next challenge.
Shut up, moron. Okay. You called it a person? Hasanabi caught in the web of lies?
Load 3 items in the dishwasher.
You got this, Neo. You got it.
And that took 5 minutes. The Neo I saw isn't the one shipping in 2026. The new model will be safer and have better hand dexterity. The one I saw still needed to take breaks to charge and cool down. The challenge isn't just Neo's body, it's also its brain. The body has to perform tasks safely, but the brain needs to know how to do them on its own, without human help. But right now, everything I saw Neo do was guided by a skilled pilot.
Teleoperation is essentially when there is a human in the loop.
And who is the voice I'm hearing right now of Neo?
Hi, I am a remote operator in a different room in the building.
And what's your name?
Turing.
What's your real name?
My real name is Turing.
Like that's your name on your birth certificate?
Yes, it is, believe it or not.
Alan Turing was, of course, the famous computer science and artificial intelligence pioneer. But this Turing, with a VR headset and controllers, was the one actually operating Neo.
I just got here. What the hell is happening? Fresh hells beyond, fresh new hell beyond human comprehension.
Until he handed me the controllers.
I actually might throw up. I think my hand is... I have no idea where I'm facing. This is me doing the Macarena.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, we're fine.
And Neo had to go to urgent care.
See you, Neo.
Why does Neo need to be operated like this in the first place? Because its brain, aka an AI neural network, needs to learn from more real-world experience. The videos of the robot doing things via teleoperation become the training data to make the AI model smarter. That's why 1X is putting Neo in the homes of early adopters.
I think it's quite important for me to just say that in 2026, if you buy this product, it is because you're okay with that social contract. If we don't have your data, we can't make the product better. I'm a big fan of what I call like big brother, big sister principle, right? Big sister helps you.
This is literally a grift, okay? For the record, this is just a grift. They are leaning in to people wanting a futurist utopia, wanting a taste of that. Because like the cost of this entire process is not even cheaper than hiring someone to do the work at a much better pace, right? So it's just a grift at this stage. And the reason why they get to maintain this grift is because they can always say, and this is the old Silicon Valley trick, this is a tech company. We're actually trying to be the next unicorn. You have to invest in us, and you have to let us do all of this unethical shit because our job is to bring about AGI. Our job is to learn the patterns that this human-operated robot is going to engage in your homes so that eventually an actual AI can do it. In reality, they're not actually advancing tech in any meaningful fashion, and instead, they're just leaning on people's ambitions. They're leaning on people's hopes and dreams that this will happen. Yeah, it's basically the Juicero conundrum over and over again.
Big Brother is just there to kind of monitor you. And we are very much the big sister. Depending on how much you want to trade, we can be more useful. And you decide where on that scale you want to be.
Do you right now know what things Neo in 2026 will do autonomously versus what it will do teleoperated?
So when you get your Neo in 2026, it will do most of the things in your home autonomously. The quality of that work will vary and will improve drastically quite fast as we get data.
To be clear, on my visit, I didn't see Neo do anything autonomously. The company did share this video of Neo autonomously opening the door.
You know, there's this new trending concept now called AI slop, right?
I do know.
It's a very powerful concept of, let's call it...
Dude, I'm gonna be honest, so many fucking tech reporters just eat the slop so hard. Like, even in really solid, otherwise reliable legacy publishers and shit. I mean, this is the fucking Wall Street Journal. This is literally the Wall Street Journal. You got a Wall Street Journal tech reporter who's just sitting there being like, oh my God, how amazing. It's like, you're kind of doing an advertisement here. You're not actually You're advertising a faulty product rather than at least having like the necessary skepticism or critical thinking that you must demonstrate in this moment so you can actually not do what a YouTuber would do. But the role reversal here is the fucking YouTuber is doing a better job addressing the shortcomings of this process than the fucking Wall Street Journal tech reporter is. How is this possible? Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand how we got to a point where the Wall Street Journal tech reporter is like, oh, this is such a fantastic development. And the tech YouTube reviewer is like, this sucks.
The gap between what it's actually capable of today and what they're promising as they take your money today. Like, I think when people watch a video like this, they expect that this robot has some sort of built-in artificial intelligence that allows it to recognize objects and navigate around on its own and learn your house and be productive for those hours while you're gone. And that, I think, would be a reasonable thing to get out of watching that video because that's what it's designed to show. That's what you're supposed to feel. That's the dream. But that's not actually what's happening. So Joanna Stern, the legend, she did a video with this Neo robot also this week where the company showed her all of the things that it could do. And turns out 100% of the things that they showed her were remotely controlled by a human in another room wearing a VR headset with controllers. That's not exaggerating. 100% of the stuff they showed her. The carrying things around, the loading up the dishwasher. I mean, look at this thing. Yeah, all of this is teleoperated. And this was a demo set up by this 1X company. So this is like best case scenario stuff. And I see a lot of people defending this robot online like, oh, no, there's probably other things that it can do autonomously. They just didn't show her yet. Really? You don't think they would show her the best stuff that this could do autonomously to keep selling the dream? If you watch that keynote video back, to their credit, you'll notice that they actually are very careful to label exactly when the robot is doing something autonomously and not teleoperated. And in that whole nearly 10-minute video, there's exactly 2 scenes that have this label. There's the get the door command.
Get the door, please.
Where the robot walks over to the door because someone's coming up. It grabs the handle, waits for the guest, and then sort of pulls the door open and fumbles backwards a little bit, kind of like a toddler to let them inside. And then there's the put away the dishes command.
Have you heard about Builder.ai as a fake software writing AI that was actually done by 700 people in India doing all the coding? Microsoft backed it, and it was a huge embarrassing flop law. I mean, it's not surprising to me at all.
Where the robot toddles over to the person, recognizes the harmless, not glass, empty cup in its hand, grabs it, and then walks away with it. Cool. No, seriously, that's actually pretty impressive. Even if I could already today unlock the door with my Google Home and a smart lock with just my voice, there is something at least a little bit futuristic about a humanoid robot going to do that. That's part of the dream. It's doing it autonomously. But then that also means that
I think one of the worst parts about this conversation is like you can't have a serious, sincere, critical convo about this stuff without people constantly saying, oh, you don't dare to dream. You just hate technology. Okay? I don't hate technology. I love technology. I use it all the time. My job wouldn't exist without technological developments. I am very understanding of technological improvements. But having said that, obviously this is fucking short-term snake oil. Is this actually advancing the project of AGI? No, it's not. It's just simply a short-term focus grift. They are just rug pulling. It's one rug pull after another. These sorts of life-changing, comprehensive initiatives, whether you want to admit it or not, can only come from long sustained research and development projects that dump a boatload, if not billions of dollars over the course of decades to fucking pull off. Okay? That's why the internet was invented by DARPA, not Al Gore in the way that people think, but DARPA. It's a DARPA project. It was the publicly funded government. So you want Elon to build it? Is Elon the government? Is that what you think I'm saying here? You'd be surprised a lot of these people do believe what they're selling. I think they've deluded themselves. Guys, stop saying yes. Elon is the exact opposite of what I'm talking about. Corso says, so I work in the fintech space, and a lot of the AI products I've tested failed to meet expectations. I think it's because of the social contract issue this guy mentions earlier. No one wants their data being used to train models for obvious reasons, but the models can't improve without it. There is 1,000% a bubble, and the US GDP only grew 0.1% last quarter. If you remove activity related to data center construction, it's not talked about enough. Well, it is talked about a lot here. At least back in the day, during the Cold War, we would try to meet our adversary in areas of improvement. The USSR beat the United States to space, okay? Many people don't even think about this. Many people don't want to comprehend it. Many people don't know it. The USSR put the first animal in space. The USSR put the first human in space. Yuri Gagarin shouts out, okay? And then America was like, oh, fuck. We have to beat the USSR. So that's how you got the Apollo mission. That's how you got people landing on the fucking moon. Okay? Yeah, shouts out to Laika. Shouts out to Yuri Gagarin. First woman in space was also the USSR as well because they're fucking woke. Anyway. And through that scientific achievement, we got a bunch of technology that we take for granted every day, including microwaves and flame retardant gear that firefighters use and shit like that. Okay, a bunch of stuff. But the point is, that was only done because, and Velcro, yes. That was only done because we wanted to compete with the USSR, our foreign adversary. Nowadays, I think capitalism has been so erosive in the field of research and development and so hyper-focused on short-term benefits in our global financialized capitalist economy that even if we want to compete against China, who is carrying that torch right now, carrying the torch of the USSR right now in this very day and age, I don't think we are even capable of competing with them, even if we tried. So many of the institutions and so much of our infrastructure has been eroded over time that we don't even have the capacity. We don't even have the state capacity to be able to compete with a country like China at this point. It's crazy.
Everything else happening in this video and everything else we've ever seen this Neo robot do, we can safely assume is remote controlled. So the gap between what this product can actually do today and what it can maybe hopefully do someday in the ideal future it is massive. They're massively far apart. And so that's really my main issue. There seems to be a bit of a lost art in waiting for a tech product to be actually finished.
What's really funny about this also, and this is true, the beta testing. Human beings are the beta testers of all the stuff, including stuff that I cannot even imagine. Like FSD, fully self-driving vehicles. You pay for the privilege to be a beta tester, and you fucking literally put your life on the line. And I know that for artificial intelligence or AGI to ever work, there is so much training that is necessary on real data. But the very fact that people are paying for it and the very fact that it is insanely dangerous for the average person who did not sign up to be a pedestrian, a test dummy, against another person's paid beta test is crazy. That's what we do nowadays. We don't even try to train this stuff in a controlled environment at all. We just straight up are like, nope, this is the easiest solution here. Early access video games, early access FSD.
before announcing and unveiling it. Like, do you remember when tech companies would unveil a brand new tech product that they've been working on and then do a demo, and then the next slide was like, this thing is going on sale tomorrow or next week or something like that. And that hype would carry right into the buying cycle. You remember that? That was sick. But now, in this age of all of these AI products, it's like there's this thing where you end up selling the dream before you sell the actual product. And that is dangerous. Like, the promise of AI is so huge and so massive and magnificent and awesome, but is also so clearly not done yet that you end up with stuff like the Humane Pin, or even the Rabbit R1, for example, or heck, even Apple Intelligence, where you have these big promises, but the capabilities are still over here, while the promise is all the way over here. And I'm trying to figure out why they do that. And I think really there's two main reasons. And believe it or not, I think Tesla self-driving is a really perfect parallel example for a lot of this stuff. See, basically, in order for this robot to be everything people want it to be, they need to develop a super smart AI system that looks through the robot's sensors and is able to learn its environment and recognize everything it's looking at and teach itself to navigate that environment and perform tasks. It has to learn what a laundry room is and what the laundry looks like and how to fold each type of clothing, and it needs to learn what cups and forks and glasses are and how to pick them up. And it has to be adaptable to all these different sizes and shapes and materials and things of all these household objects, so that when the user asks for it to do something, just like, hey, Neo, vacuum the living room when I'm gone, something like that, then Neo can go, okay, I know where the living
Hassan, AGI is here. Hassan, please trust me, it's here. Please give me some more money. Hassan, please, it's almost here. Just like a little more money and a little more tax breaks and a little more blood boys. I don't even like sex. I hate gay sex. Hassan, AGI is almost here, Hassan. Almost. In the next year, we're going to beat China by magically fucking developing AGI. I promise, bro. And it's so crazy because, like, it's kind of like people who just say, oh, capitalism will eventually create the perfect circumstances for R&D to develop that we can overcome the inevitable climate change born catastrophe, right? Oh, we'll just figure out a way to deal with all the carbon emissions one day in the future. And it's like, okay, well, that's not going to magically happen. You have to fund the research to do that, okay? And it's all systems go in the opposite direction for the time being. So just simply assuming that we will be able to fix this stuff in the future is crazy. Especially when this requires virtually everyone. A problem that impacts virtually everyone, literally everyone, requires a comprehensive solution, and the highest likelihood of ever achieving that solution or ever finding that solution means everyone has to be working towards that goal. Assuming intelligence while everyone is dumb is the fallacy of big number population. Wait, what? Begging you to fix her paw? What do you mean? Chinese open source LLMs are already closing in performance at the top of the line closed source models. They consume vastly less resources to train and run compared to the American ones.
room is. I know where the vacuum is. I know how to use the vacuum, where the handle's at, like how much battery life I have, how much I need to vacuum the whole living room. I know not to knock over lamps or certain objects in there. And even the laundry folding thing, like just that requires a ton of training data, or at least some way to understand all these different shapes of shirts and jackets and hoods and vests and all sorts of things, and hooks and hangers, and what gets folded, what gets dry cleaned, all these different things. And the list just goes on and on. And like, what if one of the tasks is going and getting the right medication for an elderly person and bringing it to them? That it has to get that right. Like, it needs to identify the correct medication at the right time and the right intervals and bringing it to them. Like that is one of a ton of household objects that it has to specifically get really good at. Now, in the self-driving car world, no matter what you think of them, Tesla's definitely a leader here, and they've had a pretty clever approach to trying to work on this problem. Because their problem is their robots on wheels need to learn all of these possible variations and ways to navigate situations that could happen on the road and how to get around them. Traffic cones, construction zones, weird lane markings, etc., etc. So, with their millions of cars already on the road, they have slowly, very slowly, let people turn on this beta self-driving feature in small stages in their cars, while instructing people to keep their hands on the wheel, of course, so that they can slowly start to gather information from people willing to beta test. And so those cars will encounter and navigate all sorts of situations for the first time, and then the second time, and then the 5th time, and then the 100th time. And all of this data can go back into the system to help all these cars learn and get better. And now at this point, this is like their primary advantage, is they have millions and millions of miles of training data from people essentially beta testing for Tesla. It's a robotics challenge. It's an AI challenge, but yeah, they're essentially using early.
Is he speeding in a school zone again? Okay, to be fair, if he was in that situation, that wouldn't be his fault. That would be the failure of the FSD.
Adopters to beta test to make the systems better for the eventual masses. And now this home AI robot challenge is essentially the same thing, but in people's homes, which is potentially way more variables. Like cars have to stick to what's on the road and mostly are operating in a 2D plane. Well, there's obviously different stories. People's houses are crazy different shapes, and there's all sorts of objects in different shapes and types of them, and a million different variables just with household objects. And maybe you could argue that the stakes of self-driving cars are a little higher because of all the safety risks, and if it messes up, someone could die. Maybe that doesn't happen as often with the home AI robot, but then again, if it gets someone's medication wrong, it's still pretty important. So I think the point here is you don't get to make this awesome, perfect home robot without all of this information. And so they need the training data, and so they go right back to early adopters. So people who press that order now button first and who actually, I guess, get one of these when they start to ship them, will get a robot that can probably do a few simple things autonomously, like opening doors, but there will be many things it can't do. And for that, if you scroll down on their website, you can see
like this should be like even in a universe where like this is the training necessary for like actual autonomous robots to work. You should be paying these people. Okay? You shouldn't be paying for it. You should be getting paid to allow this to take place in your home. I don't understand this fucking mindset where people are like, nah, it's actually great. I will pay for the privilege of being a beta tester. Like, what the fuck? Video game companies used to pay quality assurance folks. This is more than quality assurance. This is training. You're training the robot. I can't believe it. It's just capitalism all the way down, man. Oh, there's a sucker out there who will pay for the privilege. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done watching this. I can't. It's just so stupid. Ay, ay, ay. The man says, as a gamer, half of which come out in less than a beta state these days. No, I know. Back in my day, that wasn't the case, chatter. That's my point. Back in the day, releasing an alpha test was insane. There was no early access alpha test. There was no early access beta test. What's next? Paying for the privilege of coding the game? Is that what we're going to do next? Fuck it. Let's just unfold. Let's just unleash a bunch of UGC to the masses. Oh, you get to participate. If you give us $5,000, you get to code the game yourself. I guess technically that's what Roblox is, right? Is it more racist to buy it in white or black? Do they? No, they don't have a black one, do they? That's. I didn't even think about that. That is crazy. They do? Oh my Lord. Okay, I want to move away from this. I want to move away from this future, and we're there regardless, okay? I think a part of the problem is that I just don't have any confidence whatsoever that we have any semblance of regulatory agencies that will actually do the right thing to protect the fucking masses. That's the other problem. Because like you'd be like, Hassan, they do this in China too, and you pog when it's China doing it. And it's like I still have some confidence in the competence, the bare minimum competence of the Chinese government. And even then I'm very, very worried. We do the exact opposite. It almost feels like we believe our own lies, okay? It feels as though we believe the lies we have told ourselves about deregulation and capitalism fostering innovation. I think a lot of people genuinely believe that, where they think, oh no, this will actually unfold a tremendous amount of technological improvements. You don't get it. I used to think that people were saying that because they're cynical and they just want to expand profit margins. Maybe these people do believe their own shit. At least the former industrialists, I think, the titans of industry, were much more aware of what they were doing. They were more evil, I guess, in that regard. Nowadays, we're just stupid. We're evil and stupid.
Ahead of President Trump's arrival here in Asia, you'd be forgiven for thinking that America and China were on a diplomatic collision course. But for all this year's tit-for-tat on tariffs and trade, the truth is that the world's economies are so intertwined that even President Xi of China travels on an American-built jumbo jet. Behind the scenes, diplomats from both sides laid the framework for a deal at the weekend, though the body language between these leaders was largely stiff and formal.
But he's a very tough negotiator. That's not good.
At this, their first face-to-face meeting in 6 years, probably for domestic consumption back home. China's rise to superpower giving it parity, and Mr. Trump no doubt relishing his latest big power powwow on the global stage. But President Xi was never going to agree to stop buying oil from his main diplomatic ally, Russia. Mr. Trump said it wasn't really discussed.
President Xi is a great leader of a great country, and I think we're going to have a fantastic relationship.
Xi with the brutal hairline mog? Okay, dude.
For a long period of time, and it's an honor to have you with us.
While China's...
You predicted the outcome of the Trump-China trade deal? Page not available. Do you think China will back down without gaining serious concessions out of this? From America? I don't think they'll get a lot of concessions from America. I think China will actually concede in an effort to maintain global trade stability. That's what my suspicion is. They'll offer something to Donald Trump to make it seem like he's a big boy who actually did this, who dominated little old China. That's my suspicion. And the only reason why they will do that is because they benefit from global trade working the way... wrong, Law? Wait, no, they did. That's exactly what happened. What are you talking about? Wrong. That's exactly what happened. Aesthetically, they literally gave Donald Trump a couple fucking gimmies that they don't give a shit about, whether it be TikTok or repurchasing, like signing back on to purchase soybeans and whatnot. And that's it. Wrong, going back to 8 months ago isn't conceding. No, that's guys, you're failing to comprehend what I'm saying. It currently does. She won't bend the knee to the paper tiger. No, it's not a real bending of the knee, dummy. I never said that. I'm saying China will make slight concessions, like so that Trump can just, stroke his ego and present a W, like, oh, we dominated China. But before that happens, and it hasn't happened yet, obviously, this period of unprecedented global trade instability and market volatility is happening because China, I think, wants to use the temper tantrum being thrown by the fucking idiot in charge as a way to remind their global trade partners who the adults in the room actually are. If you think China will make slight concessions, doesn't that mean that you think Trump holds more cards over them? No. Donald Trump is saying, I have a nuke. I am going to nuke myself and the entire global marketplace. Of course, China doesn't want the entire global trade design to be nuked overnight. They stand to benefit from the way trade is conducted on the international stage. America basically is looking at the situation in front of them. They've recognized that China is lapping us. They recognize that China is far more developed. They have a lot of power. And if you look at it like a board game, America basically recognizes that China is winning the board game. So they're saying, I'm going to literally flip the fucking table. As a negotiation tactic, they're saying, I'm going to fucking flip the table if you don't meet my insane demands. But there are other players on the board game as well. And they're noticing that America is fucking saying they want to flip the table, which will create unprecedented chaos. No, but gotta respect chat misunderstanding you the same way now as they did when this was recorded, Lamau. I mean, this is my life, dude. Every damn day, I'm fucking pushing the boulder over the goddamn hill, only for the boulder to fall back to the bottom every day. But he wants that. So now China is looking at the other players on the table and saying, you see, this guy's a fucking asshole. He wants to blow up this goddamn game. I still want to play the game. Maybe I'll win the game in the end, but I still want to play the game. Do you want to continue playing the game, or do you want this person to fucking flip the table and no one wins? You are admitting that Trump holds the cards? If China wanted to flip the table, they could too. If Trump held all the cards as the global hegemon, then China would have conceded overnight. Why has that not happened yet? Like, actually, fully conceded. Nobody wants nukes to be launched, okay? Obviously. So you have to play, you have to play this delicate tightrope when the guy controlling the global reserve currency is trying to fucking nuke it into oblivion for no reason, for no discernible reason. This is why you pay me the big bucks. You were wrong there, Lamau. Wait, what? Everything that I said was correct. I even was careful to say maybe the European trade partners. Oh, you're talking about the nuke, like actual nukes that Trump announced he's testing. Yeah, that's come on. Don't be silly. This was a common Chinese take the moment Trump won the election. This Greek Arab copied it and pretends it came from foresight. It's so funny because Topsy hates that I am Chinese in my heart and in my soul and can conduct this analysis that many Western analysts are completely incapable of conducting, and he hates it. He hates that just as the fox assumes the tiger's ferocity, so do you assume the words of wise men. I can see through your act. You see that? You see that? Top G, back at it again, totally coping with the fact that I am Chinese. I am in my heart and in my soul Chinese. And that is precisely the reason why I can conduct this kind of analysis that turns out to be true. You said China was going to give in. I'm not sure how that's correct in this case. What do you mean? There's still concessions there, 10% tariffs, things of that nature, but they're modest in comparison to what Donald Trump was seemingly demanding. And there have been no decoupling from China. It's exactly as I said it was going to work. I told you China is going to give modest concessions and TikTok and things like that they don't really give a shit about in the grand scheme of things to make Donald Trump feel like he got a major victory here when he actually didn't. And that is precisely what took place. Do you think 423, baby? Perhaps unsurprisingly, I haven't seen many media outlets report accurately on the deal reached between Trump and Xi today, most forgetting to mention crucial aspects of it, and almost all failing to contextualize the 47% tariff figure quoted by Trump. Let me try to detail as accurately as I can, drawing from sources from both sides. On the Chinese side, I mostly use China Ministry of Commerce statement issued today at 3 p.m. Beijing time, so roughly 1 hour and a half after the deal was concluded. And on the U.S. side, I use statements by Trump himself and others present in the meeting. The key terms: the U.S. will remove the so-called 50% rule that it implemented in September for 1 year in exchange of which China will suspend the rare earths exports controls for 1 year. The removal of the 50% rule is absolutely key, yet almost no media reported on it, only mentioning that China had agreed to suspend its rare earth exports controls for 1 year. Worth mentioning. This is another thing that I said. I don't think that China was actually going to use the nuclear option of refusing to offer America rare earth minerals. If you recall, I told you that they were simply posturing to show the amount of leverage that they do actually have, but they wouldn't actually hit the maximalist position here because that would end up threatening the long-standing trade relations that they have with all of their other partners, as they are currently the monopoly. Okay, they are the monopoly. They have a monopoly on the manufacturing and the refinement and the procurement, pretty much, of these rare earth metals. As a reminder, the 50% rule was the main reason why China retaliated with the rare earths export controls. It was a huge escalation by the U.S. as it effectively increased the number of Chinese companies on the entity list by 14 times, from 1,400 companies to 20,000, meaning 14 times more Chinese companies cut off from the Western financial system, forbidden to use USD, etc. It was also the key trigger for the Nexperia debacle that's currently occurring in Europe. Remember, America's main power is that it's the global reserve currency. China's main power is that it's the global manufacturing hub. Oh my God, chat, why are we acting like Hassan is Doctor Strange? He just gave his opinion. Goddamn, just grow up. Yeah. Your take was China will pretend to be awed by Trump to make him feel good. China instead made the world realize who won. No, I'm saying that for people who are more competent, and I'm sure there's like those who actually dominate American capital as well, who are paying close attention to the back and forth between China and Donald Trump. This doesn't look good for Donald Trump at all, especially because of how long it went. Okay? How long it went and the instability that was born out of the lengthy back and forth process that started because Donald Trump wanted to fuck the bag up. Okay? Having said that, it was always going to end with China coming back to the table and being like, okay, sure. Let's get back to business as fucking usual. It does not matter. MAGA is going to eat it. It doesn't matter. MAGA is stupid as fuck. Who cares? It was also the key trigger for the Nexperia debacle that currently is occurring in Europe. The 50% rule would have put Nexperia on the entity list, and the U.S. told the Dutch that the only way Nexperia could escape U.S. sanctions was to get rid of the Chinese ownership in the company. Hence, the Dutch's move to seize the company away from its Chinese ownership almost simultaneously with the introduction of the 50% rule. Unclear what will happen in this case now that the 50% rule has been dropped, but logic would dictate that the company would be given back to its rightful owners. Although admittedly, expecting European legislators to act based upon logic is a tall order. Number two, the U.S. will drop its overall tariffs on China to 47%, meaning that China now benefits 16% tariffs as a part of the Liberation Day tariff policy. Of course, Trump would mention the overall number to make it sound like he didn't cave on his Liberation Day tariffs, but when one looks into the details, China actually negotiated him down to approximately 16% on his Liberation Day tariffs, down from the initial 34% and way down from the 125% peak. And they got the so-called fentanyl tariff cut by half on top of that. How so? Like, the fentanyl stuff is the stupidest one, right? Like, that was a bullshit reason for why Donald Trump said he was going to do this tariffs regime, so that he could justify it, at least within the existing confines of the American legal limitations, right? He wanted to say there's a war on fentanyl, there's a war on drug trafficking, there's a war on drugs, and China is participating in this. All of these other countries are participating in this, and that's the reason why we have to fucking slap them with these tariffs, right? So for them, for China, they just go, okay, yeah, we'll work on it. It's no different than a fucking IOU. An IOU that like Korea offers the American government, saying like, oh, yes, Mr. President, we will totally give you $17 quintillion to develop super factories on U.S. soil. Totally. In any case, how so? First of all, before Trump 2.0 even got inaugurated, tariffs on Chinese goods were already standing at a weighted average of 20.7%. Soon after taking office in February and March, so before Liberation Day, Trump added 20% on top of that in the form of his so-called fentanyl tariff. So before Liberation Day, the overall tariffs on China was already at 40.7%. Oh, by the way, this is, yes, I do call stress testing xenophobia, which I think will be a more common thing that people say, because they're trying to see how much the European vassal states, how much the European vassal states will remain committed to America, even if America keeps bullying them and dominating them and ritualistically humiliating them, because they're just terrified of the unknown Chinese form of international dominance. Okay? Eventually, I suspect, and there is some initiatives in this regard, the closer you are in proximity to China, the more interested you are in doing a BRICS-style leveraged relationship. And the further out you are, the more European you are, the closer you are to Europe as a vassal state of empire, as a vassal state of the American empire, the less interested you are in doing a BRICS-style leveraged relationship with China in order to get an upper hand in your negotiations with America. Okay? This doesn't mean you fully find yourself in the throes of Chinese control or become a vassal state to China. I'm just simply saying, you know, behaving in a way that is consistent with like India, for example, right? Self-interested, carving out some semblance of sovereignty in your negotiations by saying, okay, well, we have another major partner here that we are actually working with. But yes, so U.S. forced Netherlands to seize Nexperia over Chinese ownership, then immediately suspended the rule in the China deal. Dutch got played. They did the dirty work, and now they hold the bag. While the U.S. normalized relations. How many more times will this happen until European partners go, okay, well, one side presents stability, the other side, and prosperity, the other side presents danger and instability. In any case, let's get back to this. Then on Liberation Day, Trump added a 34% reciprocal tariff on top of that. So 74.7% overall tariffs, which he again escalated to 125% by April 10th after China retaliated. This brought the peak to 145% just from Liberation Day, blah, blah, blah. Overall rate is now going down to 47. Given the fact that the deal includes a 50% reduction on fentanyl tariff from 20% down to 10%, means that China has now negotiated the Liberation Day down from 125% to about 16%. Since 20.7 plus 10% fentanyl plus 60% Liberation Day is approximately equal to 47% overall. This means that when it comes to Liberation Day tariffs, China will stand roughly on par with the EU, who are at 15%, or South Korea, who will also likely be around 15%. The U.S. will suspend its hostile actions on China's ships and shipbuilding industry, in exchange of which China will also suspend its retaliatory measures. Other parts of the deal, TikTok. China mentioned they agreed to properly resolve the TikTok issue, which is probably diplomatic speak to say that it's not resolved yet. Soybeans. China mentioned that both sides reached consensus on expanding agricultural product trade, while Trump mentioned that China will buy tremendous amounts of soybeans, which all in all probably means that China agreed to resume buying U.S. soybeans, which they had stopped as a retaliatory measure, as leverage in the trade war. Fentanyl, both sides agree on anti-drug cooperation regarding fentanyl, which is language that is pretty boilerplate in U.S.-China discussions, so probably nothing new here. Handling of individual enterprise cases, which is pretty opaque language that suggests both sides discuss how to handle specific companies' issues, NVIDIA, Huawei, Nexperia, and that they reach consensus on this. Future summitry. Trump commits to visiting China in April 2026 with mutual support pledged for China's 2026 APEC holding and America's G20 summit. This signals both sides expect the relationships to stabilize enough for Xi and Trump to meet several times in person in 2026. U.S. or China in charge will not affect my life. The world financial system runs on IOUs. U.S. or China in charge. I mean, you're not totally wrong. I get what you're saying. All in all, I would say that the key feature of this deal is the reciprocity and almost religious balance in every aspect. Each concession matched by the other, each suspension mirrored. It shows we're not dealing with peer competitors who can effectively keep each other in check. Okay? You can see how immensely things have changed if you contrast this deal with Trump's so-called Phase 1 agreement from his first term, with its unilateral Chinese commitments to buy American products and enact structural reforms to rebalance trade, with the U.S. warning it would vigilantly monitor Chinese compliance. All from an era when the U.S. could still dictate terms. None of that unequal framework survives here. Hold on. Let me just order this thing. None of the unequal framework survives here. Instead of Washington trying to reform China based on its interests, all it can do is learn to coexist with it. If it's still early days, though. For instance, the deal doesn't mention fundamental issues such as Taiwan. This is clearly not a grand strategic reset, but rather both powers trying to figure out the rules of engagement of our new multipolar reality. The funniest part about this was, and I can't stress this enough, none of this needed to happen. Okay? Like, none of this needed that. If Donald Trump was just like, yeah, of course, China's a massive trade partner, we're just going to continue doing business as usual with them. None of this had to have happened at all. No tariffs, no nothing. And I don't think Trump was able to successfully decouple the rest of the world from China, nor did it successfully decouple America from China, because you can't do that if your single responsibility to the public is that they still get a steady flow of treats at a fucking reasonable cost. Because if the treats go away due to the fact that you're no longer utilizing the cheap goods manufacturer of the world, you're fucked. What is there that remains for the average American? What is there that the average American could look forward to? Hello, piece of shit. Hello, chatter. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Crayons. Xi Jinping mentioned in his introductory statement at the meeting that the U.S.-China relationship was a giant ship going through winds, waves, and challenges that needed to be steadily sailed forward by both leaders. That's pretty much what this meeting was. The winds and waves are still there, but at least both sides seem to acknowledge that they're now on the same ship. Man, you got to stop responding back to those trolls. I think it's a fun way to respond to them when they come in with hatred. If I just like respond with not that, you know?
This leader sounded much more cautious, talking about what he later called basic consensus.
Given our different national conditions, we do not always see eye to eye with each other. And it is normal for the two leading economies of the world to have frictions now and then.
Donald Trump announced afterwards that he would cut overall tariffs on China to 47%, and that China had agreed to a year's postponement on controlling its rare earth exports. The aggressive rhetoric of the recent past set aside, with the US president now due to visit China next April.
I thought it was an amazing meeting. He's a great leader of a very powerful, very strong country, China. And I mean, what can I say? We have, it was an outstanding group of decisions, I think, that was made. A lot of decisions were made, too. There wasn't too much left out there.
Both sides have now backed away from a global trade war, with pragmatism winning the day. Though we still don't know whether Chinese-owned TikTok will be allowed to operate in America or whether China will...
Yeah, Bros Humbled is right, dude. Very different energy. Is a clear, like, oh shit, China got hands moment.
One day invade.
Actually, I don't even know if that's the case because he's too fucking self-involved and too stupid to recognize it. I'm gonna be honest.
Taiwan, though tensions have certainly been reduced for now. I'm now joined by Han Lin, who is the China director for the Asia Group consultancy, and he's now in Shanghai. Han, thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you first whether this meeting, this summit, whether it is the breakthrough that President Trump says it is. I mean, he's talking about it in terms of it being a 12 out of 10 success of a meeting.
Please. Well, we love that optimism. And certainly looking at the announcements, Trump has mentioned it's a great meeting. Now, interestingly, on the China side, their response has been more tempered, more general, but they haven't made any major contradictions either. So in many ways, this meeting represents more of a tactical pause than a strategic breakthrough. But given the history and trend of US-China relations, maybe that's the best we can expect.
Do you think this caution from President Xi is for domestic consumption, that he wants to appear tough with the Americans? Or are the Chinese basically unsure of President Trump? They don't really believe that there is peace in our time with such a unpredictable president.
So the way China looks at it is that they're familiar with the Trump playbook, given that their experience during the first Trump administration. So in the second round, during this current time period, they feel like they have a deeper toolkit to respond and retaliate if necessary.
Bro, it's like, dude, how can you trust? Who can trust not just America, but especially Donald Trump? Like, how? Yeah, I mean, if you in this day and age, if you trust Donald Trump, you're a bit of a fool. Ally and enemy alike. It's kind of dumb to do that, no?
And they've learned the lesson, which is if Trump hits, they should hit back easily and with strength, and ideally keep it proportional. But certainly one thing that they have kept in mind is that, at least for this purpose of this meeting, they want to try to maintain some level of de-escalation, because if they can keep US-China relations fairly calm, it allows them to concentrate more on a lot of domestic development and reforms, specifically in their upcoming 15th five-year plan.
And with Mr. Trump due to visit China next April, which has now been announced, that sort of binds him in, doesn't it? I mean, it means that they both have to lower the aggressive rhetoric for that meeting to take place, which suggests you might have a period of stability. But there again, President Trump might change his mind.
Absolutely. We really can't predict any occasional flare-ups that do.
Did you see Trump in Japan saying China's better? Wait, what? No. That's crazy.
Happen. But it is an important point that on the calendar, they're looking to target
dog killer. Dog killer is wild. I thought it was dog abuser. Now it's tuned up. Now it's tuned up to dog killer. Cool.
A Trump-Xi meeting in the early part of next year.
Chatter thinks I'm the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kirsty Noem.
And also at the latter part of the year when President Xi comes to the US for the G20. So the fact that you've got some timeline and milestones put in place of when other summits should happen, it allows and acts as a disciplining process, ideally to keep some of the more hawkish elements on both sides relatively at bay, because nobody wants to really spoil the summits.